Commissioners, at this time, you'll find inside your packet your minutes from the meeting of April the 27th work session and your regular session minute. Any additions, deletions, or corrections, please see Ms. Duke so that those can be taken care of. We'll now move on to agenda item 5A, Lowndes County Public Facilities Authority. Mr. Pritchard.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, in your documents, you have a recommendation for the reappointment of Mr. Joseph Stevens to the Public Facilities Authority. We received word this morning that Mr. Stevens has asked that he not be considered for this position, and that in light of that, we would ask that tomorrow night that you table this until additional names can be provided to you.
Okay. Do we have any questions, Commissioners?
No, sir.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item 5B, Valdosta Lowndes County Airport Authority. Mr. Pritchard.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, the term of Mr. Anthony Payton is expiring May 21st of this year. For the Valdosta Lowndes County Airport Authority, Mr. Payton has expressed interest in being reappointed, as well as the name of Mr. G. Norman Bennett has been submitted expressing interest in that seat.
Commissioners, I believe also inside your packet you will find a letter from the chairman of the Airport Authority also recommending for a recommendation for that position. So if you will, please review that as well. Any other questions or any questions at all?
Is this Anthony, is this Alvin?
It's Alvin's brother. Anthony is an architect that works out at Moody Air Force Base. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 6A. Is the architectural services for the Lowndes County Civic Center renovations. Mr. McLeod.
Yes, sir. The Lowndes County Civic Center renovations project was approved on the SPLOST 7 referendum at $150,000. Staff received a proposal from J. Glenn Gregory and Associates Architects for the design documents and contract administration for the project. J. Glenn Gregory and Associates Architects proposed 6% for the design and 2% for the construction administration.
Any questions from Mr. McLeod?
Chair, I had a question regarding, I guess, the bid submittal. He's the only one that submitted a bid?
Yes, sir. He's the one we called, correct.
Now,
Was there others invited?
No.
Now, when we bid out and they put a percent based on the construction cost, hypothetically, if the project would have been $50,000, that 8% would have still been good taken.
Yes, sir.
Now, if the construction costs go up, that means his fee will go up, right?
That's correct. His fee is based off the percentage. In the beginning, it starts off an estimated value. So for instance, if it goes up, it's still at 8% of the total construction value. If it goes down, it also goes down with that value.
Because currently we have it projected, I think about 250 or something like that. But hypothetically, if the materials cost more or they have to add a different type of material and the overall price goes up, the percentage that he's estimated to get will definitely go up.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting at. Is there any way we can start looking at possible fixed prices or something like that? I know percentages, may be customary, but I see how they can escalate. If I'm the one drawing the architectural designs and determining the materials, I might can determine even higher. Not that he would do that, but I'm just saying. I think it's something to think about.
I think in this particular situation, the comments has some merit. Of course, industry standard for architectural design is typically based on a percentage of the contract. That's just how they price everything out. As well as this is a SPLOST 7, to remind you, this is a SPLOST 7 project, and we've allocated only $150,000 to do this work. So the point with that is that we have that much allocated, so we're going to have to adhere to that, be very, very careful of any cost overruns, and the initial estimate, the initial contract will have to come in at that number or less.
That's what I'm getting at. That was my concern, is that if we wind up, the material itself can change the overall price, and we'll find ourselves already maxed out at what we're gonna spend on the building.
That's right, and part of what the architect does is he has to come up with it, and myself, we have to come up with a pretty detailed estimate, and actually go get material estimates and what, current costs are for labor. So we make sure we're below that number, so we don't go over, and allow ourselves a little room just in case as well.
Chad, will you explain about the rotation and working with the architects on
Yes,
the
sir.
various projects that we have?
Yes, we have not several, but we have a lot of architects in town. We work with all of them, and we get along with all of them. Most of them have done work with us. If we ask for RFQs, we know the qualifications of every architect. We have it on file. The standard percentage is roughly 6 and 2, 6% for design documents, 2% for project administration. That cost could go up a little if it was a real small amount, or it could go up a little in a larger amount. And what we're trying to do is, these two projects combined that are on here this morning, both of them went to Glenn, or staff submitted to Glenn. Now, the next project will go to the next local architect that we have in mind for that project, until we get all the architects in the area projects, not just one.
And my biggest concern also is that we realize that 150,000 ain't gonna go far in that civic center.
That's right.
So I just want to try to get every dime we can, because it really needs some work done.
That's right. And we're just trying to clear up the question, was anybody else asked to bid? They're all gonna submit 8%, 6 and 2. It's been a pretty standard submittal for as long as I've been here. And we know the qualifications of all the architects. All of them are good architects
Yeah.
we have in town. And, the plan is, it's a professional design services, so we can go out and select each one based on the project size, their knowledge of each project.
Any other questions?
Good to know.
All right, sir. Let's move on now to agenda item 6B, is the architectural services for the Naylor Community Center. Mr. McLeod.
Yes, sir. The Naylor Community Center project was approved on the SPLOST 7 referendum at $250,000. Staff received a proposal from J. Glenn Gregory and Associates Architects for the design documents and contract administration for the project. J. Glenn Gregory and Associates Architects proposes 6% for the design and 2% for the construction administration.
Any questions?
My only concern, is this for a new facility, or this for looking at the ones that exist there?
This is for a new facility like was proposed on the referendum.
Thank you.
What we're looking for, Commissioner, now is just the building itself, and we have not determined a site.
Still searching.
I'm glad you touched on, because that was my question, is because I 250,000, between the architect and the land might really go up in price as well. So just something to think about. Appreciate it, Chad.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move on now to agenda item 6C, the lease agreement for the Public Defender's Office. Mr. McLeod.
Yes, sir. The public defender currently leases 7,209 square feet of office space from Dr. Rishi Saxena at 106 South Patterson Street, Valdosta, Georgia, at $10.09 per square foot. The current lease will expire October 31st, 2015. During the negotiations of the new proposed lease agreement, Dr. Saxena asked the base rent to remain the same at $10.09 per square foot, but also asked for a 5-year commitment from the county, and for the county to pay an additional 33% of the electrical utility charges for the building. Staff negotiated the commitment down to 3 years and for 25% of the electrical utility charges for the building, which is shown in the lease agreement before you.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, my only main question is, I know we're entertaining the courthouse, or what have you. Is it possible that we could look at possibly shortening that agreement?
Well, that was,
in hopes that, you know, we could not spend as much money leasing a place?
well, that was the idea behind negotiating down from the request of a 5-year agreement down to a 3-year agreement.
In reality, Commissioners, if we started today, which we can't because that SPOS money is allocated out, as y'all know, as it comes in, it would probably take us almost that length of time in order to have it ready for any of the potential users of that courthouse space, because there's going to be quite a bit of work that will need to be done from electrical and plumbing and so forth that Chad has looked at it. So I think that the 3 years is probably going to give us about as much leeway as we can expect.
I was just looking at, you know, it's 102,000 per year. We're looking at 310,000 roughly over the course of the next 3 years, if it was a way that we could save some of it. And I'm pretty sure we probably can't house them in this building in that time, could we?
We have looked at a number of potential sites, but because the requirements of the public defender, the number of people that they have working there, as well as their space requirements on conference rooms, et cetera, it's very difficult for us to find that particular usable property. And Chad has looked at probably 10 or so just as possible alternatives, because we were hoping not to have to renegotiate this contract. We wanted to have a better facility as far as the terms in the agreement, but this was the best that we could come up with at this time.
Is this higher than we paid before? I thought we paid about 70,000 right when I got on. It was about 70,000 for a
The
year.
$10.09 is 72,000
Okay.
plus or minus. Don't quote me on that. What's additional is what Dr. Saxena has asked for is a percentage of the electrical utility charges.
So currently, we're not paying any electrical.
That's correct.
But keep in mind, as you typically, as you would shorten the lease agreement from a time standpoint, you end up then actually more than likely have to make concessions on the base, which would be a higher rate. I mean, that's just speculation, but that's typically what you would buy.
So they're using all of that 7,200 square feet?
Yes, sir, they are. If they had a correct laid out space, they would still need over 6,000 square feet. that we work
Do
with.
they have to be in the one building? That office?
I'm not-
They don't have divisions where they could maybe be in two buildings?
I'm not
that we
familiar enough
already
with their
have.
department to know that, but I believe they all
I
have
don't
to
know.
be together.
According to conversation with Mr. Kruger and also with Mr. John Kent Edwards prior to him, they are like a number of offices where they require or prefer, I don't know where they require, but they prefer to have everybody available and in close proximity to each other.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll now move on to agenda item 6D, is the annual contract renewal for prison work details. Ms. Cummings.
Yes, sir. This is an annual renewal for 3 prison work details. 1 is for engineering department and 2 is for road maintenance, public works. Each detail is $39,500 per year. And what their main task is to clean the manual hand cutting of easements, which is a detrimental part of keeping all the drainage open during hurricanes so the water has somewhere to go. Keep everything flowing.
Any questions from Ms. Cummings?
Robert, yes, do you feel that we're getting our money worth with them? I mean, I know they have all these restrictions on
Right.
times and days that we can actually utilize them.
Well, according to the contract is they have 15 days that they can do lay-ins or miss the time they're supposed to be here. Once they go over the 15 days, they reduce the bill every month. So what we're not getting out of them, they're not paying. So it's really good because they'll come out with 10 men on each, like on a detail. And we only have 5 laborers in our Public Works Department, which would be impossible for us to clean, that many ditches with just 5 people. And they are really worth their labor. And if they don't show up, they don't pay. So,
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we'll move on now to agenda item 6E, the declaration of surplus items and the authorization for the sale and disposal. Ms. Black.
Yes, sir. We have a very long list of items, mostly from the Sheriff's Department or ITS, that we would like to have declared surplus, and we will sell those or dispose of those as according to our policy.
Any questions?
Yes, Stephanie, is it, or maybe Joe can answer this, is there any way we can do any, I guess, interdepartmental type of transfers? I noticed on here I saw some K9 kennels. Is it possible that I guess, animal shelter can use them or give them away?
Those are vehicular though, aren't they?
Yeah, I think those are, Commissioner, are for the vehicles themselves as opposed to something that could be used for animal control, but I'll check on it to be sure.
Okay.
These are the kennel types that goes in the back of a vehicle for the K9 units.
Back to see
That's the way I kind of saw it.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like a cage type
Sure,
deal that
yeah.
they walk the dogs in.
I think it's part of a unit that fits in the back of the car itself. Again, we can check on that. All right, let's move on to agenda item 7A, is the bid for coffee service. Ms. Black?
Yes, sir. We requested bids for a coffee services contract that covers all county buildings. We asked the vendors to submit pricing on both premium and house blend coffees and all the related items. You have on the chart there the prices that were given. Based on the current year consumption of each of those variety of items, you have the estimated cost for the 2 vendors.
Any questions? Okay, let's move on to agenda item 7B, is the bids for the bottled water service. Ms. Black?
Yes, sir. We also solicited bids for bottled water services. This covers all departments that currently use bottled water, except for the sheriff's office. There are no rental fees for machines or anything, so the only price that was necessary was for the bottles, and you have the bids there.
Any questions?
Why is the sheriff's office not on our contract? Couldn't we save money by doing one big contract?
I'd have to look at their contract and see, but they have their own contract for water services.
Any questions? All right, let's move on then to agenda item 8, county manager report. Mr. Pritchard.
Mr. Chairman, I'd have an item I'd like to ask Aaron to present to you. It's a potential item for addition to your agenda. Aaron, if you would.
Yes, sir. Chairman, Commissioners, this is the upgrade of and replacement of servers for the South Lowndes Data Center and the North Lowndes Data Center. It is a physical piece of equipment that will go in the South Lowndes Data Center. When purchased, it comes in a bundle. 2 of the blades will go north, and the chassis and 2 of the blades will go south. That will allow for the replacement and virtualization of more than 12 servers in each site with redundancy from site to site. So it will begin to allow us to fail over physical servers from one site to another. This will also replace the aging network core for the South Campus, if you will. So this will increase the network services and bring it into something that's supportable for everybody that lives on the South Campus right now, as well as our redundancy here up north.
Okay.
How much are we talking, Aaron?
The cost is $116,000.
Yes. And that is with a contingency already added on there. So it'll probably end up being just over $100,000.
Okay, really, I think what we're looking at this point would be authorization to go ahead and add this as an additional agenda item for tomorrow evening's meeting to be considered.
Is this in your budget?
Yes, sir.
It is? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any objection to adding it as an agenda item?
No.
All right, we now move on to agenda item 9 is, we have Ms. Beth English here with the Easter Seals, Southern Georgia. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. I'm Beth English. I've had the pleasure of serving as Executive Director of Easter Seals for the last 23 years. And before I say anything else, I'm not here for money, so relax.
Thank you.
I would like to actually, my purpose is twofold. One is just to share with you the economic impact, and I'll let my nervousness, the economic impact that Easter Seals has to Lowndes County, and then also just to share briefly with you about the services that we provide, because I know, serving as a city official for the last 17 years, you are the ones that gets constituents' issues. And so we do have a lot of services that can help you as you respond to the phone calls and the folks that ask you for assistance or for direction or for help. First of all, just to talk about the economic impact, and you probably are not aware of this, we bring $2.24 million into Lowndes County every year. That's state and federal dollars that would not be here without the programs that we provide that do pull those dollars into the county. We have 58 staff here in Lowndes County, and last year we served 332 Lowndes County residents. So we're a fairly large operation. Overall, the agency serves a 60-county area, basically the bottom third of the state of Georgia. We have over 250 staff and served over 3,000 children and adults with disabilities. So we like to say that we are also your partner in economic development, because I'm sure you've heard your economic development people say every dollar turns over 7 times. So if you look at that, then we would be a $14 million partner with you. So I hope that will maybe change your view a little bit. Yes, we are a charitable organization, and yes, we do provide services to some of your most vulnerable citizens, but we also are a part of the growth that you experience here in Lowndes County. Secondly, the services that we provide, are you my IT person?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We've got a little short video, but before he shows it, I do want to mention briefly, Easter Seals has a signature program. It's called Megan's House. It's a children's respite home. Families who are caring for children with disabilities or who are medically fragile, have autism, have a very high stress level, as you can imagine. The divorce rate is significantly higher. And for these families, they are able to leave their child with us 24 hours up to 2 weeks so that the family can take a break from the caregiving responsibilities. They can spend time with their spouse. They can spend time with their other children. A parent may perhaps need surgery or have a family emergency, and so we're able to do that. We are the only agency in the state of Georgia, south of Metro, that does this. We have a home in Albany, a home in Valdosta, and a home in Waycross. We have families from Augusta coming to get these services. So we're very proud to have the home here in Valdosta. It is very well used, as you might guess, and we've had enormous support from this community, both financially and in so many other ways, just with helping us with the services. We do have an Easter Seals board here in Valdosta. They meet every other month. There's 17 individuals, and you have a packet that lists the services and also the board members. So I'll be quiet, and certainly we'll be able to field any questions you might have, but we have a really short video that highlights some of the services. I'm so glad you have an IT person. This is not my strength.
If I could say anything to anyone, it would be to the families of special needs children. Not to give up and to realize what an awesome place Megan's House is.
You know, in all my travels, I'm not aware of another facility like Megan's House anywhere that I've ever been. It is definitely a need. There's a need there. And that it was identified and we've come up with this incredible solution is just says so much about the founder and the folks that have supported it through the years.
Megan's House does provide us with a level of security, a level of comfort that we can't get anywhere else. Because our child requires so much attention, specialized attention, that we can't get that from just anywhere. But Megan's house has everything that we need. And so when we send him to Megan's house, you see, we can rest, we can relax, because we know that he's in good hands.
They love it.
You know,
Tipton
the
and Bethany
kids,
love
you
it.
can tell they're getting more and more comfortable with it, and that just, it's reassuring once you see the people there interact with them.
When we first drop him off, he's always smiling. And in fact, immediately he turns away from us and he focuses on the nurse and the toys. He wouldn't do that if he didn't like it there. In fact, he wouldn't do that if he didn't love it there.
I know that I needed a break when Megan was here, and I had a lot of support of families. I had a lot of support from Easter Seals, but we didn't have a respite home. This is a safe haven for families to bring their children. We have trained staff that love these kids, that have been with us since we opened. It's a wonderful place.
I'd be happy to field any questions that you might have.
I had,
Any questions for Ms. English?
I really enjoyed the presentation and all, and I'd be the first to tell you, growing up, I heard about Easter Seals, but I never knew the economic impact that you're talking about. I realize you say you didn't come for any money, but I know you didn't come for nothing. Is anything that we can do to help, or grant application, or just strictly community awareness, or what?
Really, it was just community awareness. We're very fortunate to have a number of very viable state contracts, and because we do perform and deliver the outcomes at a very good price. Our admin is less than 9%. You can't find a large agency that can top that generally. So no, absolutely. But certainly, if we have a grant application that's applicable to Valdosta and Lowndes County, if you all were amenable, we would certainly be here to ask for support. But no, this is just strictly this is what we do, and thank you all for serving in the capacity that you serve in.
Well, Ms. English, thank you, and thank you for the Easter Seals and all the work that you do, not only in this community, but of course, certainly worldwide as well. So very much appreciative, and thank you for the great work.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All righty. Any other business? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Yeah.